presents The Spotlight Internet Radio Show, Season 15, the program that puts the spotlight on independent content creators. Each week, our hosts bring to you entertaining and thought-provoking episodes. This is your home for news about television, film, gaming, and much, much more. Join us live here every Wednesday as we bring to you interviews and biting commentary. And now, your hosts, Jen and Kente. Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of The Spotlight, episode number 266. I am one of your hosts, Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and we are here on a special Monday for a special episode, and joining me is the one and only, they call him the Captain, Captain Olaf Barbosa. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It's just another great day in the great state of Indiana. Been balmy, I think 48 degrees today, so didn't have to wear the heavy jacket. So it was all good for a Monday.
Well, it's a very frigid, like 62 here, so in Los Angeles.
You poor thing. I don't know how you survive. I don't know how you survive, man.
I know, and you know what? I'm so dedicated to the show. I don't have the heater on, and nothing going on in the fireplace. So,
wow.
Because in solidarity, So, but I'm happy that you are here with us to chop it up, and looking forward to hearing, how you fit into this picture. So let's get straight to our guest. Our guest is a podcaster. She is someone who I'm looking forward to knowing more about her. Donald Piercy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? And thanks for having me on tonight.
Thank you for coming on. We always try to reach out to people who are doing this thing we call podcasting and streaming. And, when I came across you and saw the work that you were doing, I was very interested in hearing your story. So I always like to start off with the beginning. Tell us about where you're from originally.
Well, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and I went to 17 schools growing up. I'm from an all-military family. But moving wasn't because of the military. It was because I was involved in gangs and fights and was always getting kicked out of school. So we moved a lot. And eventually, I lived in Peoria, Illinois, and Detroit, Michigan, Youngstown, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, Indianapolis. I'm in Greenwood, Indiana right now, actually. And if it's frigid in LA, I have to say, come visit Indiana. I don't know what else to say, but no, I'm in Indiana now. But another move is coming in the future. I just don't know when yet, so I don't want to make any spoils on that.
Well, like I said, it's so cold. I just have to. I'm hanging in there. But okay. So, were you one of those people growing up that knew what they wanted to do as far as their career and whatnot?
Well, at 5 years old, I got started into acting, and then I started going to auditions when I was 11, and I got into modeling when I was 13. And I stayed in theater growing up, and I've been writing for over 30 years, and I'm an award-winning poet, and I always knew I wanted to write, and I've always loved Hollywood, not the bad side of it, of course, but TV, the art of acting, because it's kind of like an art to me. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was 10 years old, I actually was interviewing my friends on their front porch. And now she's an award-winning Tejano singer. And I told her, you're going to have to come back on my show. You're going to have to let me interview you again. It's been 30 years. So I kind of just, if anybody always asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be in the entertainment industry. And they, you know, would always say, good luck with that. Good luck with that. And I said, watch me. That's what I said. So, and then I was an executive PR and advertising TV fanfare publications when I was 20. And you know, I ended up taking marketing. I was in marketing club too. And I was in a really bad car accident when I was 21 and broke my back and my collarbone, had a head concussion.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I turned around and got hit by another car, and it put me in a wheelchair for over 4 years.
Oh, man.
So I've had 12 spinal surgeries, a total of 24 surgeries, and a child of Agent Orange. So, I mean, that kind of got in the way. But I think what it was is I needed to find something that was my niche. I started blogging because it was the only way I knew how to express myself, you know, properly. And so, yeah, I started blogging, and that was in November 2012. And I've kept up with it ever since. And it kind of led me to podcasting in a way. I was a co-host on ABC News Radio. I'm a member of the Breakfast Club, the morning show with Aaron Sanchez and Brett Malik. And I got to be on an off-time segment, and I had a lot of fun. And the actor and my friend Taz Zarate reached out to me, and he was like, hey, you know, you should come on Aaron's show again. And I said, well, I don't know about that. And he was like, well, we want to see you on air again. And so I kind of let it go and blew it off. And I knew I had a lot of fun. And then I had another podcaster reach out to me, and I said, well, what would I do? You know, where do I start? What would I do? And he told me what videos to watch. He was like, watch as many videos as you can, do all the research you can, make a list, write down everybody you want to interview. What type of questions would you ask them? So I said, okay, I followed every single direction, and I had 10 weeks pre-recorded before I launched. So,
oh, wow.
and of course that was July 22nd, and then of 2017. And that's how I got into podcasting, and I'm still doing it.
Wow. I mean, to start off like that and jumping into the podcast game, I mean, you were ready to go. So you knew exactly what you wanted to do. That's very, very rare that you come across that. Now, what do you find most enjoyable about interviewing people?
Well, the people I'm interviewing usually have a very large background. Which makes it easy to interview them. But most of all, what I look for is people that have been through rock bottom, whether they were raised in orphanages, homeless, and climbed their way up, even through disabilities, okay? Or I want to say special needs, because, you know, I don't want to put a label on anything. But I've seen these people climb up and overcome their trials and tribulations. And I think that is the most inspirational thing of what they're doing. I mean, they're successful in what they're doing despite their trials and tribulations. And I think that's gives a lot of people hope. And it gives me hope because, you know, as a child of Agent Orange and gone through what I went through, it's inspiring to not only, I know, the audience, but also to me.
Can you do me a favor, for those who may not be well versed on being a child of Agent Orange, because they don't really talk about it as much now. So let the audience know what that exactly means.
Okay. Well, Agent Orange was an herbicidal chemical warfare that was dumped by thousands of gallons over the Vietnam jungles, also in Korea, Germany. Wherever there was war, it was dumped, okay? My father was a commanding officer for 2 tours in Long Binh, and he is actually the man that laid the spy lines the communication lines on the Viet Cong. And he had inhaled it to a point that the dioxin, it's made up mainly of dioxin. So it's poison is what it is. And he suffered a lot. Well, it was so saturated within him. What it does is it actually mutates the sperm cells. So when my mom got pregnant, it actually mutated my DNA. So my DNA is dioxin based. Again, I found out I passed the genetic mutation to my son as well. And he's been in and out of the hospital since birth. So I got my tubes cut and burnt. Because I don't think that's fair that the government can poison us.
No,
but
not
isn't fair. I mean, you know, my father, he signed up to give his life for this country. And he did give his life for this country. And I think of it as like, I didn't give my life to this country, but I don't have a choice. I'm giving it anyways.
Right.
You know, but with the health issues that it has caused, you know, I homeschool my son. I podcast from home. You know, if I interview people, sometimes they come to my home. You know, I'll have like a guest come to my home and they'll come on my show that way. Because I can't always get out. And podcasting is something for me that allows me to get out of the box and bring entertainment to other people. Yeah, I can walk. I actually have a permanent brace on my leg. It's a partial prosthetic on the lower half of my right leg because my Achilles exploded while I was walking in the house. But while in a wheelchair, that's when I started my podcast too. So it doesn't matter. I'm in and out of it as I need it. It's electric. I think that if somebody is sitting at home, whether they're disabled or not, and they're not doing anything, you know, idle hands is the devil's work. So I have to do something. And when I got put on Social Security disability because of my health, I thought, oh, well, this would be a great time to go to college, right? So I got ordained online, which people's like, oh, that's online. But I was like, well, I started ordering textbooks and I started studying, and I studied and studied and studied and studied for 10 years. And what I did was they would send me my test in the mail, and then I'd take the test and I'd send them back, you know, and then eventually after 10 years, I got my PhD.
And congratulations too, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yep. You're you know, and I'm so glad that we took this opportunity to talk about it, because that was something that was talked about a long time ago, and not as much now about Agent Orange and with the effects that not just the people that were subjected to it, but then their offspring and you know, how it affected other people. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, that we covered that.
Yeah. And I'm an advocate for COVHA, and that's Children of Vietnam Veterans Health Alliance. And if anybody wants any more information, that's covvha.net. And you can find out more information, and if anybody wants to help there. And they're saying that it can now go 7 generations, that the mutation is that strong. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Well, that's something. I mean, when they did talk about it, I mean, it was bad. The one, you know, like it's like the first that got it, and they never really did talk much about it. It's like, oh, well, you can if you're exposed to it, you could pass it on to your children and your children. They never really said much about that.
Right. Well, and I think that's the whole purpose of COVHA being there, is because the VA. Okay, the VA nor the government compensates children of Agent Orange. And it's really hard for a Vietnam veteran or any veteran affected by Agent Orange to be compensated. And it's sick, and it's sad, and it's corrupt. And but what I do know with COVHA, that it's a support group for children of Agent Orange. Okay, And not only is it a support group, they have doctors in Vietnam doing research on the genetic mutation. I actually have an interview. If anybody wants to go, it's ANEWpodcast.com. Just type in the search bar COV Kavha, and my interview with the from advocate. I don't know if you want to call her an advocate, or she runs Kavha. Okay. And she goes back and forth to Vietnam. I have an interview with her.
The audience wants to know about, was there any reparations paid to
no,
the effect?
Not children of Vietnam veterans. No, not unless your mother was a Vietnam veteran and your spine was born on the outside. Otherwise, you cannot get help.
Wow, that's horrible. Yeah, that's horrible. So, with how did it affect your father mentally?
Mentally, my father was the sharpest man that I've ever met in my life. He was a man that was full of integrity. And the night before he died, he actually folded all of his clothes, got stuff out that he wanted to give me and my foster brother, set it aside, and then called my foster brother to take him to the hospital. And he died while pulling into the parking lot of the VA hospital, going into the emergency room. He had 2 types of heart disease: ischemic heart disease and another type of heart disease. He had something wrong with his bone marrow and his white blood cells. He had to get blood transfusions. He had Parkinson's, kidney failure, prostate disease, diabetes. He had so many things that happened. His entire body was full of tumors, and his brain, it popped. Just the blood quit pumping blood to his heart, or the heart quit pumping blood to his brain. So, yeah.
Wow. Go ahead, Olaf.
I was just reiterating, that's, wow, what a way to, that's just, I can't even imagine that.
Right. Well, the thing is, the VA didn't even compensate my mom.
Wow.
His appointment for 100% disability for the Parkinson's was the day after he died. I don't know if you've seen on CNN, the Vietnam veterans of America went on to CNN talking about that, about the guy that died the day before his appointment. That was my father. I had actually given a speech at the Vietnam Veterans of America about my dad and him passing the day before his appointment, and my mom not getting compensated anything, not a dime. Even though she's in, the veterans plot, she's still without a date of death too. So.
Wow. So, you were in the wheelchair, and you needed to do something to keep your mind active, and as well as to just get yourself back on track. So what were some of the things that helped you get through those 4 years?
Well, I am a gallery artist and a published poet, award-winning poet. I actually went to Washington, D.C. to pick up my Poet of Merit Award in a wheelchair. My dad pushed me. I don't let anything stop me. And the VFW, they did a fundraiser and was able to get us a wheelchair accessible van at the time I needed it to be able to get my son back and forth to the children's hospital. And of course the van eventually went out. But now I have an SUV. But I paint. I do that and blog. And really, that was the only thing that I could do. But I just never gave up. I always knew that there was something.
Yes. As much as you've been through and like stuff like that, your never give up attitude, where do you think that comes from? In other words, I mean, a lot of people would just say, "Oh, it's just too much,"
and woe is me. Nah,
woe is me. Yeah, it's like I just,
I'm
you
from a
you are
very
you are an inspiration to us from from what I've heard so far.
thank you.
You are an inspiration because a lot of what you've been through, and you're just plugging right along. So, what do you think
Yeah.
gives you that drive?
I want to live. I want to live. I'm recovering from 3 strokes, TIA strokes as well.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live. I can't. And my mom and my dad, they were very driven people. My father, he went to work same time every day. He never called off. He was at the home same time every day. My mom was the type of woman, she worked, got up, cooked me breakfast, went to work, came home, had dinner on the table the same time every day. And I'm not saying, today's society, a lot is not like that, but I make it a point to have dinner at the table with my son, and homeschool. And I think the drive of my mom always telling me that I'm not going to make it, because she was very pessimistic. Is something that drove me to make it, because I remember when I was going for a job interview for a PR, in advertising as an executive marketing PR with TV Fanfare Publications, my mom said, "You're not going to make it. What makes you think you're going to make it?" And I said, "Oh yeah, freaking watch me." And I went out and my car broke down out of town. I walked, I think, 13 miles and closed those grocery stores. And I brought home a $2,700 check on my first check. And I went and I rubbed it in her face. And I said, "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to make it." And then I got top 10 in the nation in sales. That was before I got hit by a car. But I did it.
It's like, do you think possibly she, in other words, maybe she was doing that, telling you, "Oh, you can't do it," because she knew that would just make you mad and tick you off, and you're like, "Oh, well, just watch me," and help give you your drive by basically
possibly
saying,
but a lot of the times, she also told me that I wouldn't be able to have kids, that I'd never be able to live on my own. She used to say stuff like that. She didn't want me away from her, is what it was. I think a lot of the time. I wouldn't say that she's a helicopter mom, but I kind of had a really rough life growing up.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Being in Indiana, we were talking about the weather and how cold it gets. How when it gets really cold, does it affect you as far as some of the health issues you've had?
Well, sometimes I get achy, but the cold is a lot better than the heat on my body.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. If I'm out in the sun, I get really sick because I have systemic lupus as well. So, the doctors are like, sunscreen and umbrellas, and I'm like, oh, great. Yeah. But in the summer, I stay out. In the winter, I go. or in the summer, I stay in the winter, I go out. There you go.
Oh, wow. That's definitely, I wouldn't have expected that. That's for sure. I want to take a moment real quick while we're at the halfway point to recognize the people in the chat room. We have Bucket Monkey. We have Chad Cobra. We have Tony Davis. We have Leland. We have Big Bad Brad. We have, of course, Shannon. We have Candy, Frazier, and Dre and Aaron was here as well. They've been popping in and out. So thank you so much for listening. And then we have people on Periscope as well, who I can't see. And thank you so much. And those are listening to the audio as well. Okay. Let's see. And in our chat room, Tony says, "Don, your mother sounds like mine in her loving way. It's killing you with kindness, with her demanding." Yeah.
Yeah. I actually ended up taking care of my mom until her last day. So I was very grateful, to be able to do that, even though she put me through high hell. I loved her. I mean, she was sweet, but it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, but I was glad that I stuck by her side.
Now let's go into podcasting. And we all come to it for different reasons and different ways. When you first heard about podcasting and you decided that this was going to be what you were going to do, was there a particular show that inspired you, or was it just a medium?
Yes, actually there was. The Breakfast Club, ABC News Radio, with Aaron Sanchez and Brett Malik.
Not Charlie the God.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Breakfast Club, and I'm there every morning. And Aaron was doing a segment to where he would pick one person to come co-host, or two people to come co-host with him, and I got picked, and I had so much fun. And then Taz Arate, the actor, he reached out to me and he was like, "I want to see you back on air. See if Aaron will hire you." And I was like, "I don't know about that," but I had fun. And then I had another podcaster, Efren Guzman with the Atomic Podcast, reach out to me. And he's the one that gave me the idea for a new podcast. Of course, I came up with the name, but when he asked me, I was like, "I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it." And he said, "Well, do all the research." So I researched it for like 4 months. And then before I ever interviewed anybody, because I wanted to know everything that I could. And of course, it's a growing process, so I'm always still learning. And after I was 10 weeks pre-recorded, I launched my first show. Yeah.
No, see, I would have asked, in other words, which indie, showcase radio podcast inspired you to start podcasting. But
hilarious.
Kente went the other way, so I couldn't ask my question.
Well, it started out as news radio as a co-host, and then another podcaster reached out. So I wanted to do something different, like nobody else was doing. So on my platform, I have interactive bio pages for each guest, and where everything, all their social links are together, acting reels or clips or what have you. And it makes for a fun experience for people. Yeah.
What's the best interview that you can think of where everything just came together? The guest was great, you were on your game, and it just was a great flow.
Oh wow, there's actually several. Alejandro Patino, Efren Guzman, Christine Storm, Tiffany Gaines. There's so many. I think they're pretty much all smooth, unless I was having technical difficulties with OBS, where my computer reset one time and I went live with Mel Novak, the legendary martial arts actor that fought Bruce Lee, and the sound didn't work. Yeah. I was like, no. But
welcome to live radio.
Yeah, right.
We interviewed Mel as well.
Did you? Yeah. So I said, okay, well, he invited me to come interview him in person. So I was like, okay, well, when I get the money, I'll be there. I can't tell you what year, but yeah.
Yeah. That's funny though. Yeah. Oh my God. It's since we've been doing video, because we just started our audio, and so when we would have technical difficulties, the audience couldn't really see me like going, "Oh my God,"
Right.
So they always say, "How do you stand so cool when things are going awry?" And I'm like if you could see me, you would say that it wasn't. So now that we're doing video and audio, when things are going awry, I have to literally have a poker face, because then the audience, if you stay cool, the audience stay cool. So, but believe me, inside I'll be like, shoot, like.
But we never had technical issues ever.
Oh yeah, never, right? It never happens.
Never.
Yeah, OBS is something else. I tell you what, if your computer if you update your computer, you better check your sound settings because it will disconnect.
Oh my god. Yes. Yeah, it's sometimes it can be a pain in the ass. But here's the funny thing is, I prefer to do live interviews just because, pre-recorded, you can make everything like perfect, right? But there's something about doing that live interview where, that safety net is gone and you don't know what's going to happen. And it's exciting and terrifying sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I mean, do you find that too when it comes to live?
I have a lot of fun when I do live, but then sometimes I can't find my video. Like, I don't know where to retweet you on Periscope. Mm-hmm. I can't, I don't know where to find the videos, and I'm like, okay. So like, I like live, but I also like pre-recording because sometimes I've gotten up to 14 weeks pre-recorded. I get a wait list and I'm like, well, we're 3 months pre-recorded, so you're going to have to wait. I'm taking off for a couple months. Bye. And then just put the show out on Saturday. Uh-huh. So, I mean, in that aspect, I like the pre-recording part, but I like the live part too, because it gives you a chance to just be there and do it,
Oh yeah. I remember when I first got started doing the live thing, a lot of my friends were like, who do all theirs pre-recorded. They were like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? This was like back before everybody, now more people, I think, do it live than before. And because before it used to be almost all the podcasts were pre-recorded, but now so many people do it live.
Right.
By doing it live, though, in other words, it's like, because it's like I've been working with Ken. What is it now? We're going on like eight years. Going on like 8 years, and
started in 1912.
It was like doing the interviews live. What it allowed me or gave me the ability to do is when I would go to the conventions and interview the different celebrities at their table. All I needed was like a couple of questions to ask them, and I could roll with the whole thing. Roll with a good 5 to 6 minute interview with them, and I was like, since I was used to doing stuff live, it didn't bother me at all. I mean, I would record it and film it, and then I would broadcast it out later. But every interview I did was live. So it gave me the ability to really think on your feet and learn how to watch what you say so you don't say the wrong thing and like, oops, because you can't take it back once it's out there.
Right. That's true.
I often suggested to people who have a hard time public speaking is to start a podcast, because it gets you used to speaking to the public, even if if it's just audio. You don't have to worry about being cute or with makeup or whatever it is. You can just speak to an audience and without them having to see you. And then, it'll get you used to speaking to a live audience. And I've suggested that to several people, and they've become better with talking in, in groups and stuff like that. So it's really good for the host as well. Like you improve yourself too as well. I mean, if you're doing it right, I guess. If you're doing it wrong, maybe not. But it's really awesome. Now tell us about Big Dawg.
Okay. Mariano Big Dawg Mendoza is my celebrity co-host, and he is deemed the world's strongest Latino. He's one of the top 100 MMA fighters in the world. And he's also an actor and stuntman, and a veteran too. And he came to me. I actually interviewed him, and he came to me one day and said, hey, I have an idea. What do you think about having BigDawgsCorner on a new podcast? And he was like, you can host it and write it and produce it. and I'll pop on and say hi. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. We've done that, and it's been over a year since we've been doing that, but we've had the creator of the UFC, Art Davie, the creator and founder of WCK Muay Thai, World Championship Muay Thai. We have, the Empire Wrestling Federation, the owner, and the WWE ref. And so it's fun. A lot of legendary martial artists and stuntmen and veterans. And we kind of mix it up. We've had comedians on there too.
Yes, I want to recognize C. Will and Brooklyn just came into the chat as well. Thank you for joining us. Being with someone who's so well regarded for his combat skills, what have you learned about that business while co-hosting with him?
Well, I grew up in martial arts. I was in martial arts for over 20 years before my accidents, and studied weaponry. So that had been my one of the only way that I could get my aggression out, right? And be able to stay out of trouble.
Well, I ain't running up on Don in the dark alley.
And now, I don't fight anymore, but I still, use my chucks and stuff. I just starred in a comedy skit, The Oracle of Nunchaku, a Master Chancla series. And Master Chancla is a short film comedy. It's like a Mexican kung fu parody, and it's got Mariano Big Dog, which he's in, also Rob Zombie's new movie that's coming out, 3 from Hell. And then Mark Krennic is in it, and he's in Quentin Tarantino's new movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he stars as Honey Daddy. And then we had, I hear people fighting outside. Anthony Ray, he's in it too. He plays as Chewie. And that was a lot of fun. I got to do my nunchucks, and I used a local place to film. So that was fun. And I seen Tony ask the question, Dawn, in your studies of philosophies and religion, would you say that the storytelling and folklore have influenced how people confirm or deny existence of a higher power? I'd have to say with that, yes, because I believe that someone's own personal connection with a higher power within itself is very important. And just kind of backs that up. So.
All right. So, what is your goals with this podcast going forward? To stay the course and just keep doing what you're doing. Do you guys have any?
I think, well, we have a lot of things that we're working on in the background. Mariano and I, and also Jackie Watson, the French reporter from Watson headquarters out of Hollywood. And then I have a few non-disclosure agreements that I cannot talk about, but things to the forefront. What I want to see is, be able to bring the best guests that are inspirational, that have been through a lot, have risen above it, got through it, are successful. I think that's very inspirational. I think what I want to do is I just want to help people, and I want to bring the people that I'm interviewing to the forefront, because they're not just a character on the TV. They're not just a name in a movie. They're not just a fighter. They're a human being, and they've gone through some of the most incredible things in their life. And I think that's important for people to see, that Hollywood, underneath it all, a lot of it is not all glam and glitz. Not all of it's good, but the good that is there, that's what I kind of want to shine a spotlight on.
I love it. And then, you got your acting going on as well.
Yeah. I was also, I've written helped write Master Chankla. I wrote The Oracle of Nunchaku. I also helped write the film Testimony, which is on Amazon Prime. And that has of course, the inspirational stories behind the fighters. And, it's just kind of working behind the scenes. And they said that if I were putting together like a backstory of the Oracle of Nunchaku, and then once that's done, we'll be able to move forward from there.
Oh, that's great. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they're giving you some props in the chat room. That's awesome. All right, so before we go, I just wanted to how can we get you in social media, and also when is your show, and how can we get to it?
Okay, if you go to on social media first, Twitter is at Dawn Piercy 976. Instagram is Dawn Piercy _. Let's see, YouTube, a new podcast. I'm also on there as Dawn Piercy PhD. ANEWpodcast.com is our platform. And right there up at the top on the main menu, you'll see on the front page is our featured guest of the week. And you can click any picture and it'll take you to their bio. And it shows a new podcast and BigDawgsCorner on the front page, but we've also got a web series, which is the After Dusk with Dawn Piercy. But they're all available right there up at the top of a new podcast. And I'm also a talent scout for Tiffany Gaines and SSMG Universal Music Group Distribution. So if anybody would like me to listen to their music to see if you qualify on my end, and if you do, I will send you a link to see if you qualify on your end and meet the requirements for distribution. You got to remember, distribution is different than a label. So, yeah.
Well, I would have you listen to my music, but I don't want your ears to bleed, so I won't put you through that. So, all right. So, Olaf, how can we get you in social media?
Well, you can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter at Olaf Barbosa, but just don't stalk too close because I do get nervous, and I do have an itchy trigger finger.
Too early. Too early. I was trying to time it because there's a little delay in the beginning. But,
yeah, I'm on Facebook too, Dawn Piercy, and a new podcast, and then also a new girl.
All right. You can get me at Kente F on Twitter. Kente Ferguson. That's KINTEFERGERSON. And that is at Instagram, and of course our website, which we're going through some maintenance, indyradio.org. That's INDYradio.org. But hopefully very soon it will be really up to date. Jen is helping me out with that. Thank you, Jen. And in 45 minutes, we will have Men and Women Talk the Mars Venus show. You'll be able to see the show on Get Vocal as well as through YouTube as well. So that's coming up. So and that show will be hooking up in a virtual platform. So that should be very interesting as well. I want to once again thank you so much, Dawn. This has been a great interview. For those who I see Melvin just came in there, make sure you guys check out ANEWpodcast.com. And man, it's great to have you on.
Thank you very much. It's been great being on. Thanks for having me.
All right.
And shout out to my editor, Chad Cobra. He's in here too.
Hey, Chad.
Right, one of the things with live is if we go live, we have a hard time putting it on our platform while it's live.
Oh,
that's another thing that we're having. So if anybody knows anything, let us know. We're always improving.